everybody, happy Friday. My name is Kira and I'm a business coach for independent minds and creative souls, maybe just like yours. And it's a Friday, so I'm going to hop off pretty soon and go out, but I wanted to hop online and share a message for any of you super driven, ambitious types. You know who you are, who just don't know what to do with yourself when you have a day off. Maybe you find it really hard to relax and give yourself permission to do nothing and do nothing with style. And for many of us, this can look like we're really busy and go, go, go for most of our lives. And we, in our bodies, we really crave some space and some time to just kick back and relax. But when we finally get that time, we're almost afraid of it because we don't know what to do. The achiever part of us feels like we should be maximizing and getting the absolute most out of our time off. Hi there, if you're just joining, then say hello. Is that you, Joanna? Lovely to see you. And so maybe when we finally do get some time off, we feel really guilty that we haven't got lots of things planned. We finally have a chunk of time to ourselves, and so we should be making the most out of it. So what does that mean? Maybe that means we should be going to a museum, we should be going for a walk or a hike, or finally catching up on all that reading, or maybe catching up with all those friends. Hi Joanna, say hi. It's really nice to see you. How are you doing? And this can actually leave us feeling really quite stressed because our bodies really crave some rest. They know that we've been going go, go, go all the time, and that's our default pattern, and we really need some time to recover and rest. But our minds won't let us. Our minds are so used to not letting us sit still that they keep us or keep trying to force us to keep going. Maybe that's to be making the most out of that time by doing all the things that I just mentioned or something else for you. Or maybe when we finally get some time off work, we just then replace it with the 1,000,001 administrative chores and things that we think we ought to do. Maybe it's the laundry, it's all that paperwork we need to do, it's finally chasing that bit of money that someone owes us from some HR department or whatever it is. There's always something that we should be doing to fill the time. And very few of us are actually practiced at enjoying doing nothing. There we go, I said it. So many of us from either our family or the way we were brought up in school and culture, doing nothing, or at least not being seen to be doing something, was really frowned upon. It was seen as being lazy and bad and not pulling your weight. And so for many of us, when we're in a space or we have some time off and it's not structured, we just don't know what to do with ourselves. We end up beating ourselves up. Maybe you've been there when you finally have some time off, or you actually just have the opportunity to structure your time the way you want to, and you wake up in the morning, your alarm goes off, and you just don't want to get up. You just want to pull the duvet over your head because you know that on the other side of that, I'm glad you agree. Yes, doing nothing is really an art, something I've been learning, and or doing it well for as long as you need to. And maybe you've been in that situation when you finally get some time to yourself, and whenever you do get that holiday, you just want to do nothing and you feel bad about it. You feel bad about hiding under the duvets and not confronting the day. But it's because part of you, probably quite a wise part of you, your gut knows that it would just be more of stress on the treadmill of doing, even if this time it was stuff that was allegedly supposed to be fun. And so maybe you end up pulling the duvets over your head, maybe you sleep in a little bit longer, or you at least try to sleep but can't sleep. Then you finally get up and maybe you do some of the chores but not all of the chores, and there isn't time left in the day to that fun thing that you really want to do. Or maybe you don't actually get that many chores done at all. Maybe at the end of the day you just go out and hang out with some friends, or spend some time watching TV, but then you beat yourself up about it. So not only have you not ticked the box of having achieved all the things that you wanted to, you then haven't even really rested. And so many of us, even when we actually spend time doing nothing, we are still tired at the end because we haven't actually switched off. Our mind hasn't let us. We have never really given ourselves permission to really be in the present and do nothing. So even if our body hasn't been very active or hasn't been challenged that day, our mind has been still worrying and maybe beating ourselves up and saying do. And so time which has been inactive hasn't been truly restful, and that can just feel like the worst of both worlds because you're failing on all fronts. You're not rested, you haven't done anything that was really fun, and you haven't even done all the chores. Ugh, that sucks, right? And for many of us, this is linked to a pattern that maybe we learned in school. I know when I was in one of my schools as a child, we were only allowed to do things which are creative or fun, or at least fun for some of us, after we had done things that weren't fun. And by not fun, though they meant the things which are serious, important, like English and maths. And those are serious and important and can also be really fun. But what was sad is that we were given the message, either intentionally or unintentionally, that creative things, pleasurable things, were an added nice to have, an extra, something to be done as a reward or a luxury after we'd done what was more important, which was things like the hard skills, the English and the maths. And that's a real shame, because it leads to a real devaluing of creativity in our culture. And, we get maybe 20 years of schooling or education behind us, and what do you know? You finally enter the workforce with your qualifications, and employers are then telling you, oh, why can't we have more creativity? We need people with new, fresh ideas and creative thinking. All the things that we've had beaten out of us for years in our schooling, telling us that creativity or downtime, which is exactly what's needed often to be creative, space to do nothing without outcomes being forced of you, that is a luxury and that's an afterthought. So is any surprising that there's a real deficit of creativity and new thinking that a lot of employers are experiencing when they're hiring new people, because it's not something that we're actually being allowed to experience and strengthen those muscles at school. So that's slightly a tangential point. But my point to you is that I really like to turn this idea on its head, that things that we enjoy or things that we are creative are somehow less than or less worthy of our time and our prioritization. Hiya, Elle, lovely to see you. Hope you're well. I'd love to turn the idea on its head, that anything that's fun or creative or pleasurable is less than, that it's a perk, that it's a reward for good behavior and doing the serious, important things. And this is a trick that I work with my clients on, and it's something I do myself in my own life that I find actually really helps my productivity. And I call it eating dessert for breakfast. So what I mean by that is, many of us when we were growing up, we were told that we could only have the dessert or the sweets or the treats after we'd had our main course or after we'd had the savoury food. Then if we'd done all that and we'd eaten everything on our plates, we could have the chocolates, we could have the things that we really wanted. And while that might be sensible nutritional advice, I don't think it's the same, or I don't think that applies when it actually comes to productivity as adults. And so if you're finding that when you wake up and you're just afraid of your to-do list and you're not looking forward to anything, I would encourage you to try maybe inverting that rule. And for me, eating dessert... did you eat cake this morning? Amazing! You are a hero. Oh, good to hear that, Joanna. So for me, eating dessert for breakfast looks like I start my working day 4 days a week with a dance class. And that's great. It means that when I wake up in the morning, I know the first thing I'm going to do is something that's fun, that's just for me, that gives me pleasure, that gets me in contact with other people I know and I'm forming a community with. And then once I've done that, I've moved my body, I've got out of the house, also pretty important if you're self-employed and work from home. And then I can come back and I feel like I've nourished myself, I've fed myself with all that sugar from that dessert. I have loads of energy to then throw at my business or to throw at my clients, and I do it with love and with no sense of resentment because I've taken care of my creative needs first. So if you're finding that you're feeling resentful about all the things on your to-do list, I'd have a good look on that, because it should be full of things that you either need to do or want to do. But often there's this big grey zone and big lump of things which we think we should do. But actually we all know that the world wouldn't end if we didn't do it, or at least not if we didn't do it today. So if that's you and you're finding it really hard to switch off, even when you do allegedly have free time, I would think about how you can give yourself real permission, consciously give yourself permission to do what you really want. And if you've been working really hard, if you've been pushing yourself, what you really want to do might not be very impressive. It might not be going for a walk even. It might not be going to a spa and getting a massage. It might just be sleeping in, having a nice breakfast at home, or watching Netflix and eating junk food. And if you've been really working hard all week, or if you've been really working flat out for a long period of time, that might be exactly what you need to do. And that is just as valid self-care as any bubble bath that you see on Instagram. So if that's what you need to do it, and do it with pride, and do it with pleasure, and let yourself enjoy it. And in the long run, hi Marina, how are you? Nice to see you. I keep seeing pictures of you in salsa context. We need to meet up and go dancing. I would so love that. As you've just missed it, but I've been talking about how much I love dancing and how that fuels me and gives me energy in my business. So I'd love to connect with you on that. And so that's my first tip. Look at what you can take out. What are the shoulds that you can take out? And how can you really give yourself permission to enjoy doing whatever you want, even if what you want to do is nothing. And my second tip for sustained productivity is to eat dessert for breakfast. So for me, my dessert is dance right now. But I'd love to hear from you. Give me a comment below. What would eating dessert for breakfast look like for you? Is it literally having a cake in the morning, like Joanna? Or is it something else? Maybe it's reading the paper. Maybe it's bringing the duvet over you and, I don't know, watching a documentary as you have your breakfast. Maybe it's having a beautiful breakfast with your family or your loved one. Or maybe it's something else entirely. Maybe it's going to a yoga class or going for a run. I would love to see below in the comments what you do to eat dessert for breakfast. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.